What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another Beat Break episode by yours truly. Today, we're diving into episode 4 of Digimon Beatbreak titled Family. Digimon Beatbreak just released an episode that hits right in the feels, a heartwarming yet painful dive into what the word family truly means. This episode doesn't just show action or flashy battles, it peels back the emotional layers of Rena, Tomoro, and the team, giving us a closer look at their bonds, struggles, and what keeps Glowing Dawn together. And I gotta say that they did a great job over here. So be sure to subscribe, I really appreciate the support, and if you enjoy, let's dive into my review. Last episode ended up with Gekomon goes on a rampage, went full berserk mode, which is wild. And in today's episode, we get to see what really happens to the bounty Digimon, the three siblings' very first mission, Rena's past, and their revenge or comeback mission, if you will, for redemption. Alrighty then, let's get right on into it. The episode starts with a somewhat cinematic short video of a garbage man seems to be on his break, ordering his coffee from a vending machine named Miss Ginger, and of course using his Sapotama. And not gonna lie, the chocolate from one of these vending machine in Japan was one of my favorite. Then comes Mahamon, right? Going full speed, activating the alerts on the road, and we hear this, I don't know, early 2000s amazing classic music running in the background. I'm like, okay, this is nice. Then Mahamon just vibing and smiling like he's that guy, you know, which is sleek. And from the opposite side, we now see a transport or a cargo truck that's on an automatic driving mode, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's not really that surprising, right? I see a couple videos that such automatic cars is already there in China, like a taxi without the driver, so they pretty much uses AI, I guess. So then we witness the scene unfold where Mahamon hits the truck and the human steals the goods. And I think it's funny that in this world, transaction and all that were done through Sapotama. So thieves have no choice but to steal real items, just like Mitsuo and Fan Beamon from the first ep stealing watches. And now Mahamon over here stealing Sapotama semiconductor. And of course, Mahamon, the Digimon that loves racing and high speeds. And I think those who watch Digimon Adventure 2020 will remember this guy. I mean, he is on the episode where Yamato and Gabumon evolve into Kageromon for the first time. Remember that? That episode gave me goosebumps when they were saving Mahamon that's attempting suicide from the control of Parasimon. And Yamato just straight up shouts, "You will live, Mahamon." Man, the peak friendship. And now that I think about it, this episode is also about friendship too. And I think it's intentional. And after defeating Fangmon last episode, the crew finally gets their reward. Except it's been slashed down to a 50,000 credits. It was supposed to be 100,000, right? So yeah, straight up half the number. And according to Makoto, that if you don't either hand over the wanted Digimon to the Ministry of Civil Protection or deletes it, the bounty payout gets reduced. But here's the thing, if the reward was reduced even though they didn't delete it, that would means they didn't hand it over to the ministry either, right? So that got me thinking, where exactly did those baby level Digimon go? And at the end of the episode, we see Kyo tells Yoshimura, that Garando guy, "Yoshi, I'm leaving the rest to you." And of course Yoshi with Kageromon took off somewhere, right? And so this is how I think things kinda go. The Sapotama and its human partner are handed over to the ministry, but the Digimon themselves probably given to this Yoshi, who hides and protects them somewhere safe, away from who knows what, right? Because honestly, if you give them to the ministry, an organization that's totally fine with either deleting or keeping them, you just know that they'd go Alright, we'll delete it here then, thanks. So I think that's why the Glowing Dawn, with their rule of never deleting a Digimon, would rather sacrifice half the reward just to protect these Digimon. And I'ma be real, that's pretty admirable. And of course, we now know that Glowing Dawn has their own secrets going on. And back to the beginning, Kyo's off doing who knows what, so with the other three, Rena, Makoto, and Tomoro takes on the job together. And this is actually Tomoro's first mission together as Glowing Dawn. Yippee! Rena's clearly annoyed that she has to drag Tomoro along, but when Kyo reminds her, "You're the leader," she suddenly switches gears, man, and gets fired up again. Man, I really love seeing this tsundere side of Rena, so cute. And I think Rena's easier to handle than she looks. And again, just seeing how genuinely happy Rena gets whenever Kyo compliments her, even back in the last episode, really captures how tight-knit this group is. Glowing Dawn feels less like a team and more like a family, full of warmth, chaos, and care all at once. It's that kind of bond that makes every interactions between them feel so genuine. And during their first job as siblings, they end up fighting Mahamon. And I really like how they're so prepared, plan things out carefully and stuff like that. But Gekkomon and Wolvermon can't sync up at all. Mostly because of Gekkomon keeps charging in like a maniac. And Wolvermon can't even shoot her shot because Gekkomon was in the way. And then there's this buffoon, man. Tomoro in the back, just scratching his head like, good God. I'm like, get a grip, brother. Man, like, this guy's both annoying and hilarious. Again, can't blame him. It's still just the beginning for him. He's barely learning and adapting to the drill. And you know what happens next. Mahamon shoots off his madness fire, and as you can see in this shot right here, Rena went all the way to save Tomoro, jumps on him and ends up spraining her ankle. You can hear her ankle kind of pops there too. Anyway, long story short, they messed up. Mahamon escapes and their first mission ends in total failure. And after that failure, Rena's fuming, brother. She's upset that he's endangering the family, causing too much trouble. And of course, by not cooperating, and says, "We're family, helping each other is natural." Now on defense of Tomoro, hearing her say family this and family that much might sound a bit intense. I'm sure she knows by now how Tomoro is, like of course he felt bad already, but she drilling it too much. She took his sausage too, and Gekkomon. But then you realize, right? Rena doesn't actually have a family. Of course, Makoto, being 10 years old, the most mature one of the three, having no choice but to do the roles of providing context to Rena's backstory. And with her personality, he imagined it's been hard for her to fit in anywhere. She bounced between cleaner teams one after another until finally finding Glowing Dawn, the one place that truly accepted her. So of course, she clings to the idea of family. It's something she's been longing for her whole life. And she doesn't just say it, she shows it, right? She literally risks herself, twist her ankle just to protect Tomoro. Makoto even says, "I don't know the details of her past myself," so clearly, they don't really talk much about personal stuff. Rena probably doesn't know much about Makoto's or even Kyo's background either. There, Tomoro's gaze says it all. He remembers the comfort, the guidance, the bond of having a big brother, and can't imagine himself without a family members. And of course, on Rena's side, we got Kyo, telling her that Tomoro is actually have a similar situation to her, which is that he doesn't have anywhere to go. He is just like how Rena used to be, even to how stubborn he is. And not gonna lie, Kyo is so clean for that. The way he made her and Pristimon a rose hip tea and just sit there until she talks about it, he the man. And of course, Gekkomon breaks this stern situation, eating up cookies that was given by Rena, saying how she was worried how low energy Gekkomon was. So she secretly feeds the guy. Seeing this, you can't help but think, yeah, Rena's a sweetheart and actually a really good person. And so yeah, both Rena and Tomoro owns up their mistakes. She went up to Tomoro and Makoto, admits she was out of line earlier and her orders weren't clear. And Tomoro admits he held the team back. they make up and decide to go after Mahamon again for round 2. They manage to ambush Mahamon, and Kageromon starts with his paralyzed echo, which works every time, a chef kiss techniques. And Gekomon went up to Mahamon and actually hit the break, which is so funny. I'm like, that's so smart of Gekomon to do that. Plus he covers Mahamon's eyes so he can't see, which is adorable. And of course we have Wolvermon showing another special moves of her, which is Badger Slash. So Wolvermon have the most special moves among the groups, and I'm so happy to be able to see 4 of them in 4 episodes basically, right? We got Rapid Burst in the first episode, Tomboy Blaze in the second, Scatter Rocker in the third, and now Badger Slash in the 4th episode. Then we finally sees the owner. Seems to be a biker gang. And surely Kageromon, my boy, won't miss the chance and paralyze the shit out of him. But then Mahamon attacks everywhere, and this time, Rena gets cornered. But Tomoro throws himself in front of her to protect her. You can literally hear a shrieking noise out of his bones. Then he goes on saying, of course, it's natural that we protect each other. And Gekomon adds, because we're family, right? And that line, not gonna lie, it got me. Tomoro's lost his family too, so I think he really understands what that word means to Rena. And I can already seize it. By the finale, these 3 are gonna be so tight that we'll look back at this episode and go, man, guys, remember when they could barely work together? Thinking about that already gets me emotional, not gonna lie. And it's only 4 episodes in, dude. Then Mahamon drags them into the mirror world for their final rematch. And I don't know how they does this, but Mahamon literally creates his own playground in this mirror world. And I'm just fascinated to how interesting this actually looks. And it seems fun to just be able to rise in the zone. And this time, Rena really shines as a leader. She gives the order properly this time. Wolvermon pins Mahamon down with her rapid burst. Kageromon caught the user, plus the paralyzed echo, and Gekomon destroys the core by his swing tackle. And not gonna lie, it's clean, it's tactical, perfect teamwork. And before the battle, Rena actually says, "Let's do this, Tomoro," actually calling him by his name. Usually she calls him by you or something, right? So hearing her say his name directly for the first time hit surprisingly hard, meaning they both comes to accept each other as family. And especially that dab in the end there is so good, dude. And Mahamon de-digivolve back to Metal Koromon, and Gekomon gives this winning pose, which is adorable. And in the end, it's revealed that Mahamon's partner has been committing crimes as a dark part-timer. He's basically just doing this for the money, which means there's someone bigger out there pulling the strings. And lastly, the episode ends up with the crew having a bit of a blast, eating some fine looking marble steak. And Tomoro even asks Kyo, is it really okay to eat this? Like, we didn't get paid that much, right? And Kyo says that this is to celebrate their first mission together. And I'ma be honest, I get the feeling Kyo didn't partake in this whole mission, not cause he was busy, but to help the trio bond as a real team. Hey, I will tell you this much, it's working. They can't stop praising each other while eating. Sometimes I feel like everything's happening exactly how he wants it to, but it can also be the experience, right? And I'm sure we can trust the guy, right? Kyo-san. And finally, the wholesome moments, where everyone gives a bit of their meat as a thanks to Tomoro. Gekomon drools too much, swept everything, then goes after Tomoro's steak, and seeing this, the crew convinced that Tomoro, just like Gekomon, really loves to eat. And you can also see how Rena tends to Tomoro's arm, like you can see her star sticker, which is cute, right? Next week's episode is titled Half and Half, whatever that means, and I'm really curious to see what it's all about. Sounds super fun. There seems to be a lot of people out there, and seems like a food bazaar is going on. Lots of eating, fighting for food, and a couple of Digimons too. Like, I'm happy to see Astamon there and Pandamon too. And of course, some dipshits ruining the mood, which is interesting. So that's it for today's episode breakdown. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and as always, this is Kage signing off. Stay sharp, and I'll catch you on to the next one. Peace.